Celtics used the third pick on Duke forward Jason Tatum last night. Some thought that Boston would select Kansas forward Josh Jackson, who went to the Suns with the very next pick. Celtics general manager Danny Ainge explains his frustration with him before the draft.
Never talked with Josh. No one in our organization did. I know someone wrote that was different, but that's not the case. They canceled a workout on us when we flew out to Sacramento, and they just decided to cancel it as we flew. I was mad. I flew across country. You kidding me? I had to get up at 4 o'clock and fly back home.
So, what'd you do in Sacramento, Dan?
I don't know. There's nothing to do in Sacramento.
Stephen A., should he be mad about it?
Oh, he has a right to be mad about it. I don't think you pass up on a talent like Josh Jackson just because he skipped the workout. Obviously, that's a decision that was made by his agent. You're not going to blame the kid for that. But at the same time, let's be clear. Danny Ainge deserves the benefit of the doubt, if anybody does, when you consider the maneuvers that he's orchestrated in his tenure as president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. What he's saying is, I don't know you, I haven't met you, I haven't had a conversation with you. All I have to go on is videotape and word of mouth about you, and that's not good enough for the number 3 overall pick to be spent on you. If anybody has a right to make that claim, it's Danny Ainge. I'm just saying that I don't think that he should, he could be annoyed, at the process, but I don't think he could be annoyed at the kid directly because Josh Jackson is a big-time talent. There were some questions about him, but he may arguably be the greatest talent in the draft, and the reality is clear. These kids at this age, they rely upon a lot of what their agents and representatives tell them to do. You can't hold Josh Jackson accountable for that. But in the same breath, if you're Danny Ainge, you can't spend the number 3 overall pick on him either. If you've never sat down and talked with the man and had a chance to work him out and things of that nature, that's simply something you can't do.
Also, Danny Ainge is an excellent GM, but he's not great in the draft. Let's be honest. He doesn't miss terribly, but it's not like, wow, that was an amazing draft from Danny Ainge usually. In spite of the fact that he has a lot of really high picks coming up. And as, Marcus Smart's a nice player, good defensive player. Maybe he can develop a shot and really turn into something, but it's not like he's setting the world on fire. And Ainge comes out and says Tatum would have been his number 1 pick anyway, even had they selected first. Another reason to trade down if you're the guy you want is going to be there, plus you can get another asset, good for you. And I question even that, the pick of Tatum there. Just forget about everything else. I hope it's not because he's mad at Jackson because he didn't work out for him. That would be foolish. Just take the best available player. But, guys like in recent drafts, Stephen A., and I know Jabari Parker is hurt. It's messed up. But Parker, Okafor, those kind of polished offensive players who can get you a bucket but are limited in many ways to just doing that, are not very valuable, and in fact, in the modern NBA, can even be a liability if you expend too many of your resources on them. And in fact, guys like Josh Jackson have better upside because they're very athletic. He can come into the league as a defender. Day one, you can put him in a rotation, and if he ever gets that shot, look out. So I think it's just a mistake by Danny Ainge, but I think if he has a weakness as a GM, and I think he's a great GM, it's that he's just okay in the draft, and maybe this is an example of it.
And most mock drafts were going back and forth between Tatum and Jackson in that spot.
Well, listen, if you look at Boston, Isaiah Thomas is your lone shooter. Al Horford is shot impressive, but he's a big man. He's not a shooter. Avery Bradley can shoot the ball. I love Avery Bradley's game, but he's a scorer and he's a defender, on-ball ball hawk. No question about it. Marcus Smart, same thing. They're not necessarily shooters. Jaylen Brown, not necessarily a shooter. You look at what Boston needs and consider what has been said about the offensive firepower from the perimeter that Tatum brings to the table. I don't think we can look at Danny Ainge and say, you know what, this was a bad pick. Oh, sure. It seems to be what they need.
But I think it's a bad philosophy in the NBA. NBA, the history has shown in that league, do not draft for need. Draft the best available guy. So really, now if they think Tatum's the best available guy, fine. Maybe they're right and I'm wrong. But obviously at this moment, I think I'm right. I'd rather have Jackson.